Welcome back, students. Today we'll start with the next lesson of human physiology, chemical coordination and integration. We have already seen in nervous system unit, that is the control system of the body is under two systems. One is nervous control, which is working under the nervous system, whereas the other control is done by hormones, which is under the control of the endocrine glands. So endocrine glands are going to secrete the hormones which are going to take over the control of different systems present in the body. There are totally the 5 different types of glands, of which 4 are going to be endocrine in some part of their life. So 5 different types, the 5 different types of glands is they are endocrine glands first. Endocrine glands means they are ductless glands and they pour their secretion directly into the blood without having any duct. That is அதை கேரி பண்ணிட்டு போகிறதுக்கு எந்த டக்ட்டும் கிடையாது. டைரெக்டாக வந்துட்டு செல்ஸ்லேருந்து செக்ரீட் ஆன உடனே it will mix off with the blood. Example of endocrine glands is thyroid and pituitary gland. We'll study in detail about the other glands also. Second type of gland வந்துட்டு exocrine glands. Exocrine glands வந்துட்டு glands that work with ducts. So here they never produce hormones. So purely exocrine glands do not produce or they do not secrete hormones. That are example of exocrine glands is salivary glands and liver. The third type is heterocrine gland. Heterocrine gland are going to be both endocrine as well as exocrine. That is, they are going to be exocrine in some part. That is, some part of their gland is going to have duct which is going to put the secretion into the body, and some part is going to be endocrine. That is, without any duct, their secretion is put into the blood directly. Example of heterocrine glands is pancreas. We'll study this again, these 3 structures, that is pancreas, ovaries and testes, how they act as heterocrine gland in detail. The next is conditional endocrine gland. Conditional endocrine glands, now these are not going to be purely glands, they are going to be organs with other functions, and they act as endocrine gland under some conditions alone. For example, heart and kidney. We have already seen in case of excretion and osmoregulation unit, kidney it can secrete erythropoietin hormone whenever erythropoiesis process has to be done. So it can be a conditional endocrine gland. And heart, it can secrete an hormone called as ANF, atrial natriuretic factor, under few conditions. So heart can also, so the functions of these organs are going to be different, and they are going to act as endocrine gland on some conditions alone. Such are called as conditional endocrine glands. The last one temporary endocrine glands. These organs they are going to act as endocrine glands for temporarily for a very short period of time. Example, placenta. Placenta is the only temporary gland seen in humans, and this can secrete nearly 2-3 hormones. We'll study those in detail. So these are different glands, and of these 5 different types of glands that we have seen, exocrine glands do not produce hormones, whereas the others, endocrine, conditional endocrine, temporary endocrine and heterocrine glands they can produce hormones in some part of their life. So to start with the endocrine gland. Endocrine glands, they are ductless glands we know, and their secretions are called as hormones. And the first discovered hormone is secretin, and this was isolated by persons called Banting and MacLeod, and they isolated the secretin hormone from the pancreas of dog. And the term hormone was given by person called as Starling, and this term hormone means to excite. The term means to excite, but later on it was discovered the function of hormones can have both excitatory effect as well as inhibitory effect also. We'll see what is all those in detail. And next is properties of hormones. Properties, or first properties, they are always biogenic. That is, they are produced only in living cells. Outside a living cell, they are not produced, and they are released into blood. All of the hormones produced in the body are going to be released into the blood except local hormones. Local hormones example is gastric hormones and intestinal hormones. and low molecular weight substances, all hormones, and their physiological effect. What is the effect they produce in the body? They can have both inhibitory effect, that is they can stop some function, or excitatory effect, means they can induce the function to happen at a faster rate. That thing you call it as excitatory effect. So they can have both these effects, and they are used up during the reaction. They are going to participate in, means they are never stored inside the cells. Once the hormone has finished its work, it would be degraded immediately. Next, the next property defines the same thing, that is they are not stored in cells, and their speed of actions are going to be different. Few hormones are quick acting and few are slow acting. Few quick acting usually shows their effect within seconds after they are produced and mixed into the blood, and slow acting hormones can have few days to work. And chemically these hormones are of different types. First one, amine hormones. Amine hormones means they are going to possess an amine group, and that amine group is usually derived from the amino acid tyrosine. Example of amine hormones are thyroxine, adrenaline, noradrenaline, and so these are amine hormones, thyroxine, adrenaline and noradrenaline. They are going to possess amine group that is derived from tyrosine amino acid. The next chemical is going to be steroid hormones. Steroid hormones, they are going to possess a sterol group, and this sterol group is derived from cholesterol. And example of steroid hormones are cortisol, aldosterone, testosterone, estrogen and progesterone. The next is the peptide hormones. Peptide hormones, also called as proteinaceous hormones, and these are usually made of amino acids that are linked with peptide bonds. That is why they get the name peptide hormones, because if amino acids join to form, or amino acids are joined with peptide bonds அப்படினாலே அது வந்துட்டு it is the structure will be called as protein, so also called as proteinaceous hormone. Proteinaceous hormone la there are three different types. One is proteinous hormones. Proteinous hormones அப்படினா வந்துட்டு complete protein is going to act as hormone. Example of proteinous hormone is going to be thyroid stimulating hormone, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. And long peptide hormones means these are not going to be complete protein, they are simply polypeptide chains, long polypeptide chains that are going to act as hormone. Example is insulin and glucagon. And short peptide hormones means the short polypeptide chain is going to act as hormone. Example is oxytocin and ADH, antidiuretic hormone. So these are different types of hormones based on their chemical nature. The next is the origin of endocrine glands. Where are they originating during the embryonic development? So in the embryonic development, there are three germ layers that are formed: endoderm, endoderm, mesoderm and ectoderm. இதில் எந்த germ layerல இருந்து which endocrine gland is formed? That is what we call it as the origin of endocrine glands. From endoderm, the endocrine glands that are formed are going to be thyroid, thymus, parathyroid, islets of Langerhans and gastric and intestinal endocrine parts. And from ectoderm, pineal gland and hypothalamus is formed. And from mesoderm, ovary and testis is formed. So these are purely formed from endoderm, ectoderm and mesoderm. And there are few glands that are going to be the combination of both, two or more germ layers, ecto-mesoderm origin. That is, one part arises from ectoderm and the other part arises from mesoderm. Example is adrenal gland. Adrenal gland la adrenal cortex comes from mesoderm and adrenal medulla comes from the ectoderm. The next is ectoendodermal in origin. Example of ectoendoderm origin is going to be pituitary gland. Pituitary gland la vanditu anterior lobe arises from or develops from endoderm, and middle lobe and posterior lobe develops from the ectoderm. So we'll start with the endocrine glands, and first we'll study about a gland which is not going to be purely endocrine but still has production of some hormones. The organ is going to be hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is found in the floor of diencephalon. We have seen this already in the structure of brain, and it is going to link the nervous system and the endocrine system, and they are going to secrete neurohormones, and neurohormones are secreted by cells called hypothalamic nuclei, which are present in hypothalamus. And these neurohormones, they have two effects, that is, they can either act as inhibitory factors or releasing factors. When it is inhibitory factor, actually neurohormones, they do not work in the hypothalamus itself. They are going to go to pituitary gland and then work. In pituitary gland, they can inhibit the secretion of some hormones, or they can help in release of some hormones. If they are inhibiting the secretion of particular hormone, it is called as inhibitory factor, and if it is going to help in release of some hormone, it is going to be called as the release factor, which is in short called as IF and RF. And because they are transported to pituitary, so they are not directly released from hypothalamus into blood. They are going to be transported to pituitary, and then only it is going to be released into blood. So hypothalamus cannot be called as a purely endocrine gland, because the hormones are transported from hypothalamus to the pituitary. Only then they are released into blood. And these neurohormones are going to be transported from hypothalamus to pituitary through hypophyseal portal vein, and through hypophyseal portal vein they come to the anterior pituitary. To posterior pituitary, they are going to come through the end of the axons of the neurons, because hypothalamus is a part of brain, it is made of neurons. So the neurons are going to be the cells that are going to secrete the hormone here, because cells of hypothalamus அப்படினா they are going to be neurons, because it is a part of brain, central nervous system, and only those few of those neurons are going to secrete those neurohormones, and few neurohormones are released into blood into hypophyseal portal vein, which is going to take it to the anterior lobe of pituitary. இதே வந்துட்டு posterior lobe க்கு போற ஹார்மோன்ஸ் வந்துட்டு they are going to come to the pituitary gland through the neurons itself. It is not going to enter into blood. So the axons of the neurons vandittu is going to drain out those hormones in the pituitary gland. So inhibitory factor, function of inhibitor is going to stimulate pituitary to decrease the release of a particular hormone. So it decreases the release of particular hormone, so called as inhibitory factor. Release factor is going to stimulate the pituitary to release the particular hormone in high quantity or in the quantity they are needed. That is called as the release factors. And these are the list of hormones that are secreted in hypothalamus. First one is TSH-RF, that is thyroid stimulating hormone release factor, and ACTH-RF is adrenocorticotropic hormone release factor, STH-RF, which is somatotrophic hormone release factor, also called as the growth hormone release factor. Somatostatin is a growth inhibitory hormone, and GnTH is gonadotrophin hormone release factor. And this gonadotrophin hormone has two important categories. One is FSH-RF, which is follicle stimulating hormone, seen in both male and female, and one more category is luteinizing hormone, which is seen in females, and ICSH, that is interstitial cell stimulating hormone release factor, seen only in males. So what is all these RF and IF is going to do is, if it is thyroid stimulating hormone release factor, means thyroid stimulating hormone is going to be produced by pituitary gland, and the amount of thyroid stimulating hormone released by pituitary is controlled by this release factor. So in the release factor எவ்வளோ போகுதோ அதை வச்சு தான் TSH வந்துட்டு thyroid pituitary இருந்துட்டு release ஆகும். So that is why it is called as the release factor. And few more hormones, PRF, which is prolactin release factor, and PIF is prolactin inhibitory factor. And the next is MSH-RF, which is melanocyte stimulating hormone release factor, and MSH-IF is melanocyte stimulating hormone inhibitory factor. The next is oxytocin and ADH, which is antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin. For this, up to this seventh hormone, that is from first, that is from thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic stimulating hormone, ACTH release factor, somatotropic release factor, somatostatin, gonadotropin release factor, and prolactin release factor. All these hormones, neurohormones, are going to go to the anterior lobe of pituitary, whereas these two hormones, that is MSH release factor and MSH inhibitory factor, are going to go to the middle lobe of pituitary, and oxytocin and ADH is going to go to the posterior lobe of pituitary. So functions of these hormones are going to either inhibit the production of hormone in pituitary gland or to release the hormone from the pituitary gland. The the actual endocrine gland starts with the pituitary glands, because hypothalamus is not purely endocrine. So pituitary gland, it is made of two main parts. One is called as adenohypophysis, the other one is neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis is called as a pharyngeal outgrowth. It is formed by a pharyngeal outgrowth which is called as Rathke's pouch. So Rathke's pouch is a pharyngeal outgrowth which is making up the adenohypophysis. And this Rathke's pouch is made of three parts: pars distalis, tubularis and intermedia. Idhila pars distalis and pars tubularis together form anterior lobe of pituitary, and pars intermedia is going to form the middle lobe of pituitary. This is adenohypophysis, which is formed by a pharyngeal outgrowth which is having three parts. The next part is neurohypophysis. Neurohypophysis is going to be an extension of hypothalamus which is called as pars nervosa, and this is going to form the posterior lobe of pituitary. So this pituitary gland, which is going to be extending from the hypothalamus, it is going to be a small hanging structure that is attached to the brain, usually in the closer to the diencephalon region. So if it is hanging, the structure which is going to help to contact the pituitary gland is going to be the hypothalamus. So it is going to be hanging from the hypothalamus region, and it has a small stalk. So there is no differentiation as I am putting line here to just to understand. I am drawing these lines. There is no such differentiations. The stalk is called as infundibulum, and to infundibulum this pharyngeal outgrowth is seen. This is called as hypophysis, or this pharyngeal outgrowth, we call it as hypophysis and infundibulum together. So this complete part is called as the pituitary gland. So infundibulum and hypophysis together make up the infundibulum part. And in hypothalamus we will have I am just giving these lines to represent the neurons that are present in the hypothalamus region. So there are going to be neurons in the hypothalamus region which are going to actually secrete the neurohormones, and we know that it is going to be the hypophyseal portal vein that is going to take in the hormones from. So if this is going to be the hypophyseal portal vein, so hypophyseal portal, these are the capillaries, and this one is going to finally open into the anterior lobe of pituitary. So this blood vessel is going to be the hypophyseal portal vein. So neurohormones would be secreted by these neurons or the neurosecretory cells that are present in the hypothalamus region, that enters into the hypophyseal portal vein, and it is transported to the anterior lobe. So this is going to be the anterior lobe of pituitary, into which the hypophyseal portal vein is going to leave the neurohormones, and then there is going to be a short middle lobe and then the posterior lobe. neurons oda axon ends வந்துட்டு they are going to release some neurohormones into the posterior lobe. So this is going to be anterior lobe of pituitary, this is posterior lobe of pituitary, and this is going to be the middle lobe of pituitary. So anterior and the middle lobe together called as the adenohypophysis, posterior lobe called as the neurohypophysis. So neurohormones coming from hypothalamus enters into hypophyseal portal vein, reaches anterior lobe of pituitary and middle lobe of pituitary, that is the adenohypophysis. And axons oda ends, the neurons oda axon end vandittu is going to release some. So these I am just drawing only one alone thicker. So we'll consider this as the neuron. Their axon is going to release few neurohormones into the posterior lobe of pituitary. So this as anterior, middle and the posterior lobe together present in the pituitary gland. And the hormones that are secreted by pituitary gland, they are secreted only after receiving the neurohormones from hypothalamus. For example, neurohormones, the hormone secreted by pituitary gland, one hormone is thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone is one hormone secreted by anterior lobe. If it has to secrete in the pituitary gland வந்துட்டு TSH secrete பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா first TSH release factor ஹைப்போதலாமஸில் இருந்து வரணும். ஒன்லி தென் இட் இஸ் கோயிங் டு செக்ரேட். இப்போ இந்த டிஎஸ்ஹெச்சோட ஒர்க் என்ன அப்படின்னா, இட் இஸ் கோயிங் டு கோ டு தைராய்டு கிளாண்ட். தைராய்டு கிளாண்டில் போயிட்டு தைராக்சின் ஹார்மோன் செக்ரேட் பண்ணுறதை கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ண போகுது. ஸோ பிகாஸ் த ஹார்மோன்ஸ் ஆஃப் பிட்யூட்ரி ரெகுலேட் த ஃபங்க்ஷனிங் ஆஃப் அதர் எண்டோக்ரைன் கிளாண்ட்ஸ், they are called as the master glands. And the hormones of the pituitary, anterior pituitary lobe together is called as tropins or tropic hormones. And these seven the hormones that I have written are secreted by anterior lobe. GH is growth hormone, TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone, ACTH is adrenocorticotropic hormone, FSH is follicle stimulating hormone, LH luteinizing hormone, ICSH interstitial cell stimulating hormone, LTH is lactogenic hormone, also called as the prolactin. Now we'll see the functions of all the hormones that are secreted by the anterior, middle and posterior lobe of pituitary. First one, growth hormone. The functions of growth hormone is retention and accumulation of proteins and calcium ions in the cells itself. ஏன்னா proteins, calcium ions இருந்துச்சுனா தான் growth இருக்க முடியும். For that it is going to retain and accumulate proteins and calcium ions in the cells. Second function, elongation of bones, growth of muscles and growth of visceral organs. Finally it is going to result in growth of the organism. And what will happen if it is secreted less than the required quantity and more than the required quantity? When it is secreted, when a hormone is secreted less than the required quantity, it is called as hyposecretion or decreased secretion. And hypersecretion is secreted more than the required quantity, that is increased secretion. When there is hyposecretion in early age of growth hormone, the persons who have less amount of the growth hormone is going to be very shorter in their size. They will be called as pituitary dwarfs or midgets. And in adult age, the hyposecretion results in a condition called as acromegalia. Hypersecretion in early age results in gigantism or pituitary giants. And in adult age, it is going to result in a condition called acromegaly. This is about growth hormone. The next is TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone. Functions is going to be absorption of iodine and stimulate the secretion of thyroxine by thyroid gland. Thyroxine is a hormone secreted by thyroid gland. Thyroid stimulating hormone is going to stimulate thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine hormone. The next is ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, which is going to stimulate adrenal cortex of the adrenal gland to secrete adrenocorticoids. The next is FSH. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone. This one is going to help in gametogenesis. It is going to be present in both males and females. In males it is going to induce or help spermatogenesis, formation of sperm, and in females it is going to help in oogenesis, that is formation of egg. The next is luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone is secreted only in females, and their functions, they have two important functions. One is ovulation process, that is the release of secondary oocyte on the 14th day of menstruation. And the second function is to maintain corpus luteum. And next hormone is ICSH, interstitial cell stimulating hormone. This is found only in males, and they are going to stimulate the Leydig cells to secrete testosterone. Leydig cells are nothing but interstitial cells which are present within the testis, and they are going to stimulate these Leydig cells to secrete testosterone. The next hormone is LTH, or lactogenic hormone, also called as prolactin, and this is going to stimulate the mammary glands for milk production. So these are the hormones of anterior lobe of pituitary. And coming to the hormones of middle lobe of pituitary, we have one hormone, melanocyte stimulating hormone, that is secreted in the middle lobe. The function is the production and release of melanin pigment from skin and hair, which is going to decide the color of the skin and hair. So that is the function of melanocyte stimulating hormone. And the next is the posterior lobe. Posterior lobe has two important hormones, oxytocin and ADH. The first one, and one special character about this posterior lobe of pituitary is they are going to release the neurohormones produced by hypothalamus. Here these two hormones, that is the oxytocin and ADH, they are not release factors or the inhibitory factors. They are directly hormones that are to be released by the posterior lobe, and they are produced in hypothalamus. So the first hormone, oxytocin, also called as pitocin, is commonly called as birth hormone because the function of it is to contract the uterine muscles during parturition, that is during the delivery of baby. After gestation period, the contraction of the uterine muscles is induced by this oxytocin hormone, so it is also called as the birth hormone. The next is contraction of the muscles of mammary gland and help in milk ejection process. Milk production ku vandittu we saw lactogenic hormone or prolactin is going to help, and they are going to help in milk ejection process, so it is called as galactagogic effect. And the milk ejection process vandittu is called as galactagogic effect, and that is induced by oxytocin hormone. So it is simply contraction of myometrium and contraction of muscles of the mammary gland. The next hormone is ADH, or antidiuretic hormone, or vasopressin. Their functions is reabsorption of water from DCT and collecting duct of nephrons, and they are going to regulate the water content of the body. Because they are helping in reabsorption, they are going to regulate the water content of the body, and that is why they are called as antidiuretic hormone. And they are going to cause contraction of the smooth muscles of blood vessels, especially in the arteries, and because of the reason why they are called as vasopressin. And because they are going to contract or constrict the blood vessels, and they can increase a blood pressure, and their hypersecretion can cause increased water absorption, and hypertonic urine can be formed because of this water reabsorption it is. So they can increase water reabsorption when they are produced in large amounts. So hypertonic urine would be formed, that is urine that is highly concentrated with less water, because more water is reabsorbed. And hyposecretion of ADH will result in decreased absorption of water, and more amount of water can be excreted out. Usually more than 10 liters of water per day would be excreted out when ADH has a hyposecretion, and this condition is called as diabetes insipidus. So these are the hormones of the pituitary gland that are produced in the pituitary, that is the anterior lobe and middle lobes produce the hormones based on the inhibitory factors and release factors coming from the hypothalamus, and posterior lobe has no production of hormones. They are going to just release the neurohormones that are produced in the hypothalamus. The next endocrine gland is thymus gland. Thymus gland is a pink colored bilobed and it is a lymphoid tissue. It is not a pure organ. It is going to be a mass of tissue which is a lymphoid tissue, and this is located on the heart, just above the heart, attached very closer to the heart it is. And they are going to grow or increase in size up to puberty, and after puberty they are going to undergo atrophy, means they are going to be gradual loss of cells, and at a particular age the thymus is completely lost from the body. And there are two types of cells present in thymus. One is called as thymocytes, which are going to secrete thymosin hormone, and the other type of cells are called as Hassels, HASS. This is Hassels cells, and these cells are going to be phagocytic and help in defense mechanism. And their functions, they are going to promote cell division and help the growth, and they are going to help in depression of the neuromuscular transmission. Neuromuscular transmission is the impulse transmission from nervous system to the muscles, and they are going to depress it or slow down it. So these are the functions of thymus gland as endocrine gland. இதுவே வந்துட்டு thymus has one more function, that is maturation of lymphocytes. Maturation of T lymphocytes happens in thymus gland, and helping in cell mediated immunity. That is that part of or that function of thymus gland need not be studied in this unit, because we study here only about the endocrine part of the body. The next gland is going to be pineal gland, which is a reddish grey colored knob-like gland that is present on the dorsal side of the midbrain, and they are going to secrete a substance called melatonin. This is the hormone that is secreted. Pineal gland secreting melatonin hormone. Functions of this hormone is pigmentation of skin in frogs and sexual cycle in lower vertebrates. So these two functions are not seen in humans. They are seen in lower vertebrates only. In case of humans, though the function of melatonin, exact function of melatonin is not known, it is believed that it can regulate the presence of melatonin can regulate sleep and biological clock, that is the day night function. Sleep wake cycle nu solluvom normala, day night functions, all those functions are regulated by melatonin hormone. So in the next video we'll talk about the remaining endocrine glands. Nearly 6-7 endocrine glands are remaining. We'll talk about them in the next video. Doubts irundhuchuna group la discuss panikalam nama, and thank you students. We'll meet with the next video.